ジャオハイガオグ。もう一度初めから字幕で確認してみたいので、その1同様へお願いしました。媒体ビデオテープはプライバシー上の理由で字幕は作れませんでした。これについては失礼しますが、聞いていただけば幸いです。
So I felt that it was time that I might leave the Air Force, and I began to wonder where I could put my experience to the best use. So I came to Link, and to get serious now, I did come here figuring that this was a field in which I would be able to use my experience as a pilot and my input in a growing field, because let me tell you, the simulators that I flew and the simulators that I worked with were really terrible. I mean, they might as well not have spent the money on them. They were Curtiss Wright simulators, no problem there, but they didn't have motion, they didn't have visual, they were more or less glorified emergency procedure screeners. And I developed an interest in simulation because I felt that it was an area that needed a great deal of improvement, and I hoped that I would be able to do something extraordinary. So my first impressions when I came here, I was quite astounded, first at the size of the company, also at the fact that it had a very extensive product line. They didn't make just simulators, but the other 10 items that were mentioned yesterday, from ordnance through all the work on at Silver Spring. Also, a company to me is people and its facilities. And Link has a great deal of talent here. In fact, when I did interview, Hap told me that if I were hired, that I'd be running with the cream of the crop. And I have seen now in the 3 months that I was here that he was right. That there's a great deal of talent here, both in the marketing department and in our engineering department. And so these impressions to me were one of a company that has a great deal of potential in making the best training equipment possible for the future. Now by this I mean the 6th degree of freedom motion systems that we're developing, and the visual systems, the advanced training capabilities that we're going to have in simulators are going to overcome this feeling among guys who are using simulation equipment right now, the feeling of, I gotta go to the simulator. I don't want to go. There's heel marks all the way down to the building. Fellas just do not want to go to the simulator. Unfortunately, in some cases, the simulator is the area in which the guy who's washed up as an officer is sent down to the simulator. And this creates a very bad impression. It was my experience both at Loring and at Plattsburgh to find that the people who were put in simulators were people who had somehow goofed up, and it was more or less a punishment. And this attitude rubbed off on those of us who used the equipment. It didn't get used to its full potential. So I really feel in the future, in the next couple of years, that we'll be able to develop simulation to the point of where a guy wants to get down to the simulator, he wants to work out in it, and he's going to really learn something. And if I can be a part of this, then I will feel personally satisfied. And these are my own first impressions of Wing. Thank you.
Well, that awful. I want to welcome everybody here in California. I noticed a lot of comments about that. I think in the future we're looking for salesmen for ordnance. These fellows like to transfer out here. We'd glad to talk to you. The figures we're going to discuss here as far as the ordnance is a little bit smaller than these $81 million figures that my friend Jack B talks about. That sounds like the Apollo program. But they're pretty significant. They will grow in time. 44-cent items, you've got to sell a lot of them to make, up to the bigger bookies. The way I'm going to work this is I'm going to give my talk and introduce Joe, who is next on the list. And Joe will go right down the line with the other 5 people, so we won't waste too much time. I broke my talk up into 4 subjects. First is going to be on the bookings, second on problem areas, third is on the market, and fourth is on the future of the organization. Okay? Just to give you a little background, in 1966, the ordnance booked in approximately $2 million. 1967, as you saw on the chart before, it's approximately $3 million. So for 1968, they're giving us a figure of $5.2 million. It seems to be leaping pretty fast. It's kind of a 50% increase every year. A little bit more in 68. We're a little bit behind right now on our booking as far as what we're projecting. So we're just under $1 million right as of last Friday. We should break the million mark this month, I hope, depending upon whether Apollo comes through. Now we had some pretty significant bookings in the last few months. One of them was the arm-disarm program with LCC. This is the unit that's used in the Strand missile. Now this is one that you wouldn't consider too much because we got in the front end for about $95,000 and $45,000 in engineering. This is to build the 25 units. Now this is pretty good when the Strand missile is going to go because its prime is Boeing. And they've got their go-ahead on their contract, and they're talking in the neighborhood of 4,000 units in the next 2 years, and then another 4,000, besides another 700 in front of that, so that's about 9,000 units. So at 9,000 units at $400 a piece, runs up pretty good money. Of course, that's spread over 2 years. Another item we picked up through still steer automotive, but just luck. We happen to be working with Lockheed down here in Sunnyvale, mixing some propellant powder and then rolling it out in a little mill, making flat pancakes out of it. They were using us because we hadn't ever rolled mill. Well, this ended up being the igniter for the Strand missile, and they moved that back down to LCC. So LCC asked who could do the job, and actually Lockheed up here says, well, Lynch could do it, they've been doing it. So now we've bid and have received a contract for the front end for just $15,000, but it's going to end up being the igniter on the second stage of the Strand missile. And these probably will run $150 a piece. So, and that's the same quantities as we're talking about on this one. So that looks pretty good too. We booked in the last, well, right around January the 2nd, we booked a pretty good order on the microdeck, which is for the one for Honeywell. 900,000 units. Now, if we just get engineering to produce those things, we'll be all right. We also booked a miniature piston actuator, which is a small unit on the Wampum, that was the first engineering tooling and a small quantity. We also booked the follow-on quantity, which is a smaller amount, about 175,000 units, 180,000. We also got into the 20 millimeter detonator. You can imagine what 20 millimeter shells, they shoot those up like crazy. And if we can sell the individual detonator and the lead assembly inside of that to maybe $1 or so a piece, we can get into a pretty good business there. We're bidding to a higher tooling rate. We want a production run of about 150,000 units a month. And this can run into pretty good money. We're continuing on the monocoque closures with the Biden program, which is a rusty closure system for the Poseidon missile. We have done real well with that. We ended up with a screw-up in the program because they changed the method in which they were going to blow the closure out. They figured that they're going to have water on top of it, so why not put the shape charge underneath to blow it out that way. There's a delay in the system. This held up our actual work on the unit, but we picked up another $30,000 or $40,000 in steady contracts just because of it. Sole source, by the way, they came right to it. Now these are some of the things we booked really good right now. We have some problems still in the area of the microdeck. There's a requirement for temperature and humidity in this. Now when they talk about temperature and humidity testing as a qualification item, they mean take 100 of these items, put them in a chamber, and cycle them for 28 days from a minus 65 degrees to a plus 165 degrees and spray water in between, right on top of the unit. It's supposed to go to 28 days in this cycle, about every day cycles twice. And then when they get done with that 28 days, they take them all out and fire them. They all have to fire. If one fails, you fail the whole problem. So you can imagine what kind of equipment you have to have or what you have to build to really pass this kind of problem. What we're trying to do now on the microdeck is to give them some kind of a lower requirement. So say maybe we do it for 7 days. Maybe we won't go with water. Maybe we'll just go for the temperature cycle. So this is a government requirement, but sometimes they'll deviate from the situation. Problem? We've had the usual problems that you have. Those engineers are great, wonderful people, and they're real smart, but they're also expensive. They can put the biggest prices you ever saw in your life on some of these. We have a tough time trying to keep that price down. We've been working with them pretty well. It's improved quite a bit in the last year, because we redid items from over a year ago. The same item came out with a lower price. I guess we're getting smarter, I hope. We had the trouble with the info sheets, just like you people did back in Binghamton. There was fast reaction, trying to get these things out. We have to be fast in this business. So we've instituted the system of marketing issuing the info sheets. This is helping us a lot. I checked with Gene and Hap on all this. We found the problems they had with it, and it started as of last Monday. We took over that kind of racket. Dick Stryger is out here now, as you know. He's in charge of administration contracts. He's helping us out a lot. I think he's going to be a real asset to us. Especially on one item which we finally convinced finance that they're not the watchdog of the company. This fast turnaround time of orders. We get phone calls from people and say, hey, how about selling me a couple of hundred detonators or something of this nature that we have that we could build in a week or so? And they'll say, we give you a purchase order number, give you the whole bit, and turn you on now because we need to have these things fast. We say, okay, send us a quick. Give us the PO number and everything else. Okay, we get that. Well, that's real fine until you get to finance and try to get a CRN out of finance. They bought. They say they want to see that hard copy PO. Well, you know how it is trying to get a hard copy PO out of an outfit like Boeing or North American or something like that. It's practically impossible. So, but we had that Stryger on this, and he's going along with it, and we've been able to turn these things around in just one day. We can take the contracts and, well, Ray Long has set the rule that says if contract states that this is, yes, a contract and you can build it, and financing got nothing to do with it. They just issue that CRN and it works. So, and it did work on the last one we tried it on, so I'm pretty happy about that one. Yes. Okay, we have the same problem everybody else does as far as deliveries. You guys say, well, hell, there's going to be a 3-month delay in a simulator and you got to sell out to the customers. We have the same problem. Joe has to go down to Ryan and convince them that something went wrong. We had all kinds of problems, and we're going to be 4 weeks late on something that they expected to be there. And of course, we didn't find this out until 2 days before it's supposed to be delivered. So that kind of stuff always happens to us too. We are a specialty house, really a first-class specialty house. We've got the best engineering talent there is in the whole industry. We can build anything that can be used as far as in ordnance, on missiles, on rockets. We can design it, we can build it all right in our own shop. And this is the thing we're trying to sell. We're trying to get on the front end of some of these things so that we can get in on the whole ordnance requirements for some specific missile. And we've got a couple that just came in, RFPs from an outfit called Hercules. And this looks pretty promising. They called us up last week or so. This is well before they even issued the RFP. And they're asking us, what have we done in this story? They knew we've done some because they've been talking to the outfit we stole the arm disarm from, and they're mad at us, so that told them something. We're going to be proposing on that one, and I think we stand a pretty good chance of picking that one up. Ivan will probably talk to you more about that one. Our markets with normally the airframe companies, the Boeings, the North Americans, the Lockheeds, the outfits like this. We've got also a lot of the munitions houses, such as Avcos and the Honeywells, places like that. We have the Arsenals. We have Frankfurt and Picatinny. We're trying to get into Eglin. We've gone in a lot of areas trying to find all kinds of new customers. You'll be surprised at how many you find if you just happen to be wandering around. There are more people that use ordnance than you realize. Even little outfits like Harvey Aluminum. They have a requirement that you wouldn't believe that they needed something, but they have a system where they put in anchors in the ground, earth anchors they call it, and they use dynamite. And they have a system where they just drill this pipe into the ground, drop a charge of dynamite in it, and blow it off. And this spreads out the ends on the thing, and they pour concrete down inside the pipe. It makes an anchor, especially for overseas on aircraft runways on the mats. They use those to anchor the mats down. We've been, we also tied in with quite a few of the aerospace industries, as you know. We also would appreciate help from any of you salesmen that have to run into an ordnance requirement out in the field. I know we've been doing that for you. We've sold you a couple of GATs, and we keep you informed about other programs coming in like Apollo. And so if you find any of these outfits that need help in ordnance, call us up and let us know. Tie it in with a salesman that's located in that area. Our future? Well, we have the 5 salesmen in the field right now. We hope to get more. We are looking into getting a management of an arsenal. We're going to find this out. We pick up the CBD quite a bit, and every once in a while you see where they say a $15 million contract let to some little outfit to run an arsenal. And there's never seen anything that's asking for a proposal, though, to how to run an arsenal. So we've got to dig this one out. I think we've got it figured out. It's in Washington. So Ron feels he'd like to do this, so we're willing to give him a chance. We have a project going where to increase the number of customers that we have. At this moment, we probably have about 25 or 30 customers, real good ones. I mean, that stay right on, follow on business, this sort of thing. Well, that's not enough. You need more than that. And I'm not talking about, say, the Air Force is one. There are a lot of different grades in the Air Force. We've got a system where each salesman is 2 customers a month.
はい、ここまでにします。ご視聴ありがとうございました。